I needed that.
There you go.
I'm down for that. I think that's cool. Well, Chris's podcast, I Needed That, co-hosted by Matthew Blades, is available on all streaming platforms, everybody.
Again, we're talking with Rachel from season 5 of my show.
If you're looking for anything in return when it comes to forgiveness, then you're not truly forgiving deep down inside.
Now we're doing the research to see, is it the chicken or the egg? Is it the hot flashes causing it? Or is it, you're just having hot flashes because you're higher risk for these other things because you have poorer blood flow?
I needed that.
Well, this is it. Welcome to another episode of the I Needed That podcast. I'm a 5'2" generator.
Looks like I am a 1-4 manifesting generator.
Okay, what does all of that mean? We are going to jump into it today with our special guest, Allison Cullen, in just a couple of moments, and we're going to talk about I think it's called the human design or the human experience. This is why she's here. She's going to help us understand all of this stuff.
Yes, I'm really curious to see how this whole thing lays out and how we can apply it to our lives as well.
That's the biggest piece, right?
Right, yes.
All right, let's just hop right into it, man.
Okay.
How are you feeling? You and I yesterday, for everybody that's listening to us, you probably saw the post that Chris made on Instagram about the breathwork session that we did with Lucas Mack. That was just yesterday at the time of this recording.
Yes.
So, man, how are you? 24 hours later, what are you thinking, feeling? What's going on inside?
I certainly feel a lot more peace. I didn't realize. I actually had no idea what to expect coming into it. In fact, I did a story as I was driving there. I'm like, all right, guys, well, I typically do breath work, as far as like calming breath work, box breathing, da-da-da. I'm going to go do this whole breath work session, and it's supposed to be pretty incredible. I was thinking I was going to come out of this invigorated. I did. I had no idea, though, the release that I needed. And I found myself 10 minutes into the session bawling, like absolutely bawling, and not even from some of the recent stuff. I was sobbing over emotions and pain and things that I've been feeling for years. I did not expect such a visceral reaction like that. So I was exhausted for the rest
You were
of the
tired.
Yeah, I felt great at first, leaving, because it just felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. And after all the sobbing, after the big release, I felt more clarity on my path, which I needed that. I needed to have that clarity of like, oh, there's the path. It was so convoluted with all these other distractions. And so I feel a lot better now. How about you?
Well, I'll answer your question in a second. I want to ask you a follow-up. You mentioned, put the weight on your shoulders. A lot of people come to our podcast because they struggle with their weight and they're looking for solutions. How did you feel like yesterday's breathwork session could be a benefit to some of those folks who are struggling with their weight and just kind of up and down and back and forth and can never kind of get it right?
1,000%. It's a great question, and without a shadow of a doubt. Most of us are walking around carrying some sort of emotional trauma that we probably don't even realize. I didn't realize what I was carrying around. And again, it was the anger and hurt and frustration, disappointment and sadness. I mean, and it was a list of things that, again, a lot of those feelings have been driving my behaviors, even subconsciously. And so, and this is the application. A lot of times, if someone's struggling with their weight or they're struggling with, and a lot of times, and I'm just going to talk about the community of folks that I work with that I love so much. Many of them struggle with binge eating.
Okay.
And they're binge eating not because they're hungry, is they're trying to solve a problem. They're trying to reduce pain that they're feeling because they're eating beyond a full signal. They're emotionally hungry. And a lot of times many people can't put the finger on why. What is it that what are they trying to numb? And so again, this is why I think that healing from past trauma in whatever form that looks like, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy or EMDR or breath work or whatever that might be, I think it's such a powerful tool in the journey of transformation, because otherwise it's like, oh, we'll just eat less and exercise more. You're throwing a Band-Aid on it. You're not fixing the problem. And the problem is a lot of this trauma that you're carrying around that hurts you, that you're suffering from, and you don't you don't necessarily realize it because it's not there in front of you all the time, but then you're binge eating at night because you're just trying to escape.
You know what I'm thinking about as you're saying all this? Is Bruce.
Yeah.
So when you listen to our podcast, there's a voice there on that opening clip where he talks about forgiveness. And if you're doing it for somebody else, you're not really forgiving. And that was a critical moment in the journey of his transformation, was setting down the past.
1,000%.
Or dealing with it, I should say.
Yeah. And it was healing from some of that trauma, a lot of that trauma. That's what helped put him in control. So he wasn't reaching for food anymore. And so I think this is something, and whether it's food or whether it's drugs or alcohol or sex or work or whatever it might be, whatever you're trying to escape from, that you're trying to numb, it's like, wait, hold on. Why don't you find some sort of therapy that can help you address this and get it out so you don't necessarily have to carry it around anymore? Holy smokes, what a freeing thing that would be. I mean, imagine that. Imagine not having that, just even when you're not thinking about it, it's still there in the back of your head, that pain, that suffering. Imagine if it wasn't there anymore. I mean, what could your life look like then? It's like, it just, you wipe the slate clean from this moment behind you.
Are you going to be okay with it when it goes well?
Yeah.
Are you?
That's
right. That's such a great question to ask people.
It's a good question. Yeah.
What happens if it all works out? No, I like it better here in the mud. I know this.
Right.
I know this.
Yeah.
Wow,
no, it was
man.
something. So, okay. What was the experience like for you? I know we had a brief chance to debrief after it.
Well, I want to bring our guest in. So let me just say briefly, and maybe we can get to it toward the end. I had a totally different experience than Chris did yesterday. Mine was more of levitation is the way that I can explain it. My arms went up. And Lucas Mack is the guy that we did the session with, and he mentioned that there was going to be something that happened with our hands and our I think it was just our hands.
Yeah.
And as he was explaining that, I don't know if you were doing this, but I was totally doing. I was like, yeah, right.
I was thinking the same thing.
I'm going to be the guy with the hands like this.
Right.
And 10 minutes later, I'm like, I'm literally the guy like this. And I left my body.
Dude.
I know that sounds weird to people, but I left my body, and Lucas even commented on it. Like, he said, you left your body 3 or 4 times. Your lips turned blue. Like, I left my body.
Wow. Man, there's something to it.
There
is something to it. I don't fully understand all of it, but it was really powerful.
Yeah. Glad we did it.
I got more questions for you about
All
that.
right.
But at the same time, I know we got to jump in.
Yeah, let's get to that at the end. I want to bring in our guest. You Do Woo is where you will find her on Instagram, and she hails from the great state of Texas, and she joins us today to talk about human design. And that's what we were kind of talking about up front. It's this idea of I'm a 5-2 generator. Chris is a 1-4 manifesting generator. Sam, our podcast manager, is a 5-1 generator. And Rachel, who oversees your operations, is a 4-6 generator. So what does all of that mean? Why is it important? What could finding this out do for you? Those are some of the questions that we're going to tackle with our guest. Let's bring her in right now. This is Allison Cullen. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Okay, I am so excited that y'all just did this breathwork session.
Yes.
It's super cool because what we're going to talk about today, the human design experiment. You said experience, and I just repeated that. The human design experiment is an amazing concept that does best when combined with somatic practices, actually, like breath work. So
there you go.
it's sort of awesome that was what y'all's intro was about. Do you want me to give a little bit of an overview of what it is in layman's terms?
Yes, please.
Yeah, simplify it a little bit.
Help us understand it.
And then we got some questions for you.
Cool. Yeah. So human design is a system. It was founded almost 40 years ago now, that is a combination of several different things, like Kabbalistic technology. I don't know if y'all have heard of Kabbalah, but that's like a big part. We can get into that. It's a big part of human design. The I Ching, the chakra system. So it's all about not making decisions from our logical brain anymore, because sometimes that can lead us down the wrong path. We've
experienced that, Allison.
Yeah, right?
We've experienced that, yeah.
What looks good on paper isn't always the best thing for you and your future. But getting into your body more so, and learning how to listen to your body and to trust your body to make good decisions for you. I always say in
Sounds good to
layman's,
me.
yeah, it's pretty cool. I say it's like Myers-Briggs personality system turned spiritual, turned woo-woo.
Okay.
That's cool. That's how I've explained it to a few
Yeah.
people. I was like, it's kind of like doing a Myers-Briggs test where you find out a little bit of information about how you tick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it
Go
very much teaches you how to get out of your head, get into your body, tap into your intuition. For people who have maybe people who don't want to go straight to somatic experiences or do plant medicine or something like this, this is a very structured, simple, free way to really start tapping into your higher self, into your intuition, into the wisdom that your body has. It also helps you it gives you a structure in unlearning anything from your childhood, early adulthood, societal norms that don't serve you in living your best life. It's a way of explaining as well how you energetically relate to other people and to the world as a whole. So, and there's 4 types. One of the types is what Chris is, which is a combination of two of the main types, but there's 4 main types. And then when y'all are saying 1, 4, 5, 2, that's your personality archetype. That's called a profile. And we can get into that. I sort of wanted to, for each of y'all, dive into your profile and see if it resonates, and maybe y'all could give some examples on how that has been activated for you.
I have a question in the back.
Yeah.
Allison, the question in the back is something like, where does this stack up with my zodiac symbol or my Chinese symbol? I'm a ox, I believe. Do you know what you are in the
I'm a
Chinese?
horse.
You're a horse.
Yep.
And then I'm a Libra. You're a
Pisces.
Okay, so is any of that kind of intertwined with this?
The Chinese symbols are not. I'm a boar, I think. So that doesn't have to do with human design. Human design does have some aspects of astrology. So you will see that there's some similar looking things in your chart to what you would see in an astrological chart. Human design does put the planets in place, like there's different transits and different planets that line up with your astrological transits. So yes, there's a little bit of astrology in there. You don't have to understand astrology to understand human design. I have so many clients who just aren't into, they know their sun sign, but they're not really into astrology. It's a little too ethereal for them, I think, and they very much get human design. So that's sort of where I was.
So what's the difference between that and you mentioned Kabbalah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2 different. Does Kabbalah take into account the planets and the sun and the moon? And what's the difference between astrology and Kabbalah?
So Kabbalah, astrology is an aspect of Kabbalah. So Kabbalah is layman's terms, and then I can get into it a little bit more. Kabbalah is, if life was a game, if we were all playing a game, which we sort of are, Kabbalah is the cheat sheet on how to win. Truly.
Right.
It's interesting.
You have my undivided attention now.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, y'all might get someone, y'all might get someone on. I'll get you his information. My Kabbalah mentor, he lives in LA. He's amazing. He's just amazing. And he's doing some podcast rounds right now, but he explains it better than I do. So I don't want to make this whole podcast about Kabbalah because we want to dive into human design, but Kabbalah is so cool. It's an ancient technology that apparently existed since the beginning of time. The Jewish religion has held on to it pretty well, but it is not just for those of Jewish faith.
I remember Madonna making this popular.
Yes. And I think for a
Really?
little while, people were like, okay, this is weird because Madonna did it. And it's like a cult. It's not, it's just a technology. It's a way of like playing around with things. A lot of Jewish people practice it. People utilize it for their business to increase success in their business. You can use it for improving marriages, for improving for me, parenting has been a little rough. I have a 4.5-year-old, and this has improved that by leaps and bounds.
Wow.
It's improved my marriage a ton. It's part of human design. And I got certified in human design 4.5 years ago, but we didn't touch on the Kabbalah part of it very much. It was more so all of the types and the profiles and whatever, which was very helpful and wonderful. And it helped me to be able to read a person's chart. But I was like, man, if I would have learned Kabbalah 4.5 years ago, going through the pandemic wouldn't have been as hard. Like it would have been a piece of cake. It would have been a piece of cake, honestly.
So you're familiar with Kabbalah?
I know a little bit about it. Yeah, I've dipped my toe in all these waters.
I'm embarrassed to say I've never heard about it.
Oh, no sweat, man.
Okay.
I don't think you're alone. I think there's probably hundreds of people that don't know anything about it. Okay, so we have to start at the very beginning, which is how do I even figure out what my numbers and generating and manifesting, like how do I even figure that out?
I will give you guys a link to a cheat sheet where people can go do that, or you can go onto DuckDuckGo or Google or whatever you want to do and put in Jovian Archive, Jovian Archive. And you do have to have your exact birth time. So you have to have your birth date, the city, state, country you were born, and your birth time. If you don't know your birth time, people can reach out to me and I can sort of help them with it. You can play guess and check from midnight at that time all the way to midnight at the next day. And they can sometimes it doesn't change. Sometimes it's like the same chart no matter what. But if you don't know your birth time, just send me a DM on Instagram and I'll sort of walk you through it. Most people can look it up at the hospital records or ask a family member or whatever, put your birth time in, and it'll tell you that you're one of the 4 main types. And we can get into these in a second if y'all want to. There's generators, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. And then there's one type that, Chris, you are, that is a combination of a manifestor and a generator.
And you got both of them. You're so strong.
I'm the combo. Yeah, let's go.
I'll take a number 3 with the Coke.
And I'm the same as Matthew. I'm a generator.
Okay,
so let's start one by one. What does it mean to be a generator? Wait, you go in order. You go in the order you like to teach it.
Perfect. So generators, when they're doing things they love, they create more energy for themselves and those around them. Okay. It's really great to be in a partnership with a generator, especially if they're doing something they love, that it lights them up and they just create this magic around them that other people can feed off of. They can go and go and go all day, don't burn out, so long as they're doing something they really love. Like, for an example, I'm a generator. I worked 15 years in the country music industry. And at the very beginning, when I was 21 years old, that was like the coolest thing in the whole world. Got to go backstage, got to go on tours, got to do budgets for the musicians and everything. And then once I was getting ready to start a family and started a family, and I just, I wasn't doing the fun parts of that job. I was just doing the behind the scenes part. I was not lit up by it anymore. And I'm supposed to have so much energy all day long. And I started getting exhausted and burnout. So at that point, no part of my career was lighting me up. And that was when COVID hit. And so the music industry shut down. And so God sort of was like, here you go. And I had been studying human design. So I just decided to start a podcast on it and go do that. And then since then, I've had so much energy again. So generators aren't just people who are like the Energizer Bunny who can go no matter what. They have to be doing something that they love. When generators are doing things they love, it ends up helping the whole world. So that's generators are the most. Generators and MGs make up 70% of the human population. This is why our world has a problem, because there aren't enough of us generators and MGs doing daily things that light us up.
Well, that just hit me like 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Because you can go walk into a room, you can just see the death in people's eyes, right? Like they're just there's no energy anymore. They don't love who they are, what they're doing, all those things. Yeah, because for so many of them, it's just a 9 to 5, walk in, get the job done, or sit at home, turn on your computer, get it done. Golly, so you have a really important task at hand, Allison, which is to get these 70% of people lit up again, right?
Yeah. Doing what is exciting to them. And career is actually really important for generators and MGs. I know that there's so much more to life than our careers, but for this type of person in the human design experiment, your career should be a huge part of your joy in life. So there's a lot of people who are really depressed because they're not even working and they should be, The other types, that's a different thing. They don't have to be so tied to their career. But for us three, your career is like such a huge part of the joy in your life.
Well, that's a tough one though, because it's like a lot of times, especially if you have a family, you got to keep the roof over your head. And so a lot of time, I know a lot of people are out there doing things they don't want to do, but they have to. So are generators the kind of people that need to start a side hustle in order to survive?
It doesn't necessarily
emotionally and spiritually.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a side hustle. It doesn't have to be income producing at the beginning. If they have a 9-to-5 job that doesn't light them up, but they don't have enough in savings to like quit that and start what they actually love, I would just suggest either doing something 30 minutes or an hour a day, either on their lunch break or before work or after work, that does light them up, even if that's a hobby, even if that's not something that's bringing them income. If it's bringing them income, then even better. That's great, but it doesn't have to be a side hustle. It just needs to be some kind of activity that lights them up. When they start doing that, it creates some momentum in the universe where the universe will then start giving them little miracles to take steps forward on their next career path. And I honestly think we're in 2024. There's something about with human design and the year 2027 that we're getting ready to have a really big paradigm shift here on Earth for humans. Our DNA is upgrading. There's like, this is a NASA thing. This isn't just like a woo-woo thing. We've had like crazy solar flares lately that NASA has been reporting. And the solar flares are going to be what's coming in, activating our DNA, expanding people's consciousness, forcing them to make some of these big changes for themselves. People are just going to be waking up this year. AI is changing a whole lot of stuff. Different people's careers are going to be shifting. Crazy, interesting things are going to be happening, I think, for the good. And a lot of people are going to have certain things happen in their life, like my situation in 2020 of like the music industry shutting down for a while and me having some extra time to study human design and put out the podcast and all that. That's going to repeat here in 2024 big time. And I think that people are going to start seeing that they have little miracles and kismet situations and opportunities that will start coming in this year for them that will help them take baby steps to make that career change if they need to.
All right, so that's the
Generators.
generator. What's the manifester?
The manifester is really interesting. Manifestors are only 8 to 9% of the population, so they're a little bit more rare. And then Chris is like a mixture between manifester and generator.
The combo meal.
Even more rare.
Yeah, you are. You're like full rare.
So manifestors are the true leaders. They are meant to set things into motion and then sort of withdraw. So sometimes they leave a vacuum type energy behind where it's like, wait, where did Chris go? He was just here and he's not there anymore. And we feel the lack of his energy, you know? Other people can be intimidated by you. Some people try to fear, or some people try to control you. Some people fear you. They fear your leadership. Manifestors have a very like yang type energy. They give off a lot of energy, very influential in the world. They impact other people, but that aura can be really disturbing for others. Sometimes it's like a rock the boat type energy, but it's a beautiful thing. I love working with manifestors. They're the coolest.
All right, well, fantastic.
Look at you, man.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is some of the work that you did with the shamanic breath work yesterday. Like, well, that's what I'm thinking about as she's talking about this, because there was, can I be super open about all this?
Yes.
So there was this idea that, you know, you've been working hard on this new project and not everybody has been coming to the table with the energy that you see fit to make the project go. And what she's just saying there makes a lot of sense to me, that some people, they just won't, they maybe they are intimidated by you. Maybe they are a little bit like, I don't know what to do with this guy or something like that. I don't know.
I don't either. I don't either. But okay, I got a question for you. As far as just from the spiritual realm, and this is all stuff that's still quite new to me. I've really started exploring spirituality in the last maybe 5 or 6 years. But are manifestors, are they the kind of people that start to speak things into existence, like in a weird kind of way, because what's interesting is like when I'm talking to someone and I'm excited about something and I'm talking about all the good things that are happening, typically good things start to happen. And then when my conversation changes and I start talking about, well, things aren't going well,
This isn't good. This isn't good. Yeah.
then it's almost like things don't go well. and I've started to wonder, I'm like, man, am I speaking things into existence here? Like, I got to stop this, because like this mindset of telling people that things aren't going well, it's almost like
it's projecting it.
Yeah. I don't
That's
know.
exactly.
It's
Very
scary.
well could be. I think that's why we're leaning into this new space of the words you use are critically important.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about being busy. Like, I'm removing the word busy from my vocabulary because I do a lot of things. A lot of things happen through me, as Courtney McDermott will say, but I don't want to be the busy guy. Like, that's not something I hope for.
Yeah.
I want to be the chill dude who's like got time for things and people and experiences.
Speak that into existence.
That's what I'm working
I
on.
love it.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Whenever I have one of those days, I say it's a full day today. It's a full day, because that feels more expansive. You nailed it on the head, Chris. Manifestors. So in Kabbalah technology, every human, no matter what human design type you are, can manifest things into existence through your words. But with manifestors, it's even more potent, because their sacral center, that motor center in your belly, is attached directly to your throat chakra center. So there's so much energy going from your sacral to your throat. And manifestors, they don't always have their sacral activated, but they always have their throat activated. You have both, which is a really, really big deal.
And when he's not using his voice the right way.
Yep.
Oh.
Your voice is very powerful, and your throat chakra is very powerful. If manifestors or MGs are not speaking their truth, they can sometimes have thyroid issues, or throat issues, or lose their voice, or have sinus issues, or all that kind of stuff.
I'm hypothyroid. I've got Hashimoto's thyroiditis.
And you are
all the time.
Right?
Speak your truth more.
Speak your truth more.
Interesting. Wow.
I know. I knew you were going to love this, man. I was so excited to have Allison.
It's really interesting.
Isn't it fascinating?
Yeah.
Because it makes you want to look at it a little bit and lean into it. It's like, I have, and again, we talk about this all the time. We have more control than we think we do. We oftentimes just don't have the skill set or the tools or the know or whatever. Like, this is one of those things that you don't know it until you know it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm super interested. This is really.
Chris is leaning in.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I tend to be like a really science-based person, so it's like, can we reproduce these results? Is this, is it proven? Is it, again, reproducible? But at the same time, I've also realized on my journey that there's way more out there that I cannot explain. And I've had some pretty wild spiritual experiences, again, that I couldn't quite rationalize in my brain, and they've kind of turned my belief systems upside down. And so I'm a bit of an open book now. And I've I finally realized, I'm like, okay, there's a lot that can't necessarily be proven, but there's way more out there than we know. Yeah. So I'm open.
Manifesting, generators. What were the other two?
Projectors and reflectors. So projectors.
So what's a projector?
Projectors are so cool. These are about 22% of the human population. My husband's a projector. I have tracked a lot of projectors into my life. These people are super powerful. They are the most efficient type. It's really interesting because these people are not supposed to be working 8-hour. I mean, I don't think any of us are supposed to be working 8-hour days always. Like, it's just a dumb rule that has become a norm. But projectors really can't. They can start having health issues if they're working 8-hour days. They're supposed to be working 2 or 3 hour days. And they can be very energetic if they choose to be, but usually they have to be around people like us, like generators or MGs. They don't produce energy in their chakra systems the way that we do. They need it from generators and MGs. And projectors are really interesting. They're sort of manifestors were the leaders in this paradigm we're still in. Projectors are going to be the leaders in 2027 and beyond. And that's going to be a little bit more the way life is for all humans, a lot less doing, a lot less like striving and hustling and all of that kind of stuff. It's going to be a more spiritual world. And that doesn't mean that you like have to believe.
I'll take it. Let's fast forward the clock. Let's go.
Like, this is the way that they explain it in human design and Kabbalah. All the 3D world that we see, all the stuff going on Earth is 1% of reality. 99% is in the spiritual realm. It is in your body, like your chakra system, how your organs are talking to each other, your mindset, how powerful you believe yourself to be, all the stuff that Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, like all of this kind of stuff. It's the secret world that accounts for 99% of reality. People just don't believe in it, and they don't ever take time to like actually do that work. Like the breath work that you did yesterday, that's the spiritual work. I know that there was physicality in it and you have to, go through that process, but what you're doing is releasing repressed trauma and emotions and memories and things that are deep down inside. And you might not be able to see them with a microscope. Like if somebody cut you open, they might not be able to see those, but they exist there in the 99% in the spiritual realm.
Right.
So the projectors are the leaders in this new world, 2027 and beyond.
And why is it projectors? What is the gift that they have to be the leaders?
They see things from a futuristic view, and they see things from a higher point of view. The thing that's interesting about projectors is they can't see into themselves very well, but they see other people really well and the world in a really great perspective. They just have a hard time going within.
I wonder if like lots of like counselors and doctors and people that are in helpful places, they tend to, they because I'm in this space now, I'm always around these healers and counselors, and they're really good at helping other people figure their lives out, but their lives are sometimes not exactly how they'd like it to be. And I wonder if that's a common thread between some of these folks.
I'm one of the only non-projector human design coaches. Most human design coaches are projectors. So like therapists, coach, like personal growth coaches, people, a lot of projectors in that world.
Interesting.
Okay. And then the fourth one is?
Reflectors. So my daughter is a reflector. This is less than 1% of the population.
Wow.
They're the most. Yeah. When I had her and I looked up her chart, I started crying because I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to raise a child, and I don't know how to raise a child like this. So they have all of their chakra centers open. So very much sponges to their environment, to other people, to other people's fears, to other people's emotions, which is can be a hard way to live. Like a lot of times reflectors in the past have been total hermits, and they can't just, they super empaths, super, introverts, like just want to stay away from society. But the more healthy we get as a society, you're seeing more and more really extroverted reflectors, which is great. A reflector is like a canary in a coal mine. The way they show up and their health is indicative of the health of their environment. So it's really great to have reflectors in your community and to see how they're doing, because they reflect back how all of us are doing. So it's a really big deal.
Fascinating. That sounds like a movie waiting to happen, right? Like
it's pretty cool.
Has your daughter fallen into like the description of a reflector?
So here's the deal with human design and parenting. I don't like to put kids in any boxes at all. So I don't even talk to her about it. I probably will wait till she's like 7 or 8. Between the years of 0 and 7, so much subconscious programming goes on. And I don't want her to think that she's in any box, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. In Buddhism, they talk about like you're really at around 15 or 16 before you're karmically responsible for the things that you're going to do. Oh, and I like, it sounds like maybe this is some of that stuff too.
Yeah, that's Kabbalah teaches like 13 or 14 for that. Right? So very similar. But I've seen it. She was at a school where it seemed like it was fine, and they played outside a lot and everybody was kind and whatever, but there were so many kids and the teachers were a little bit stressed out, like not even crazy, just like a little bit stressed out. And she started getting physically sick, like gut issues. We hadn't
Wow.
changed any food stuff or anything. So we had to move her. She's at a nature school now that's amazing in smaller classes, and her gut issues transformed overnight. No other
Wow.
changes.
Go to nature school.
Yeah,
No
it's pretty
kidding.
awesome.
That sounds amazing.
Oh,
But
my
I'm so
God.
glad that her gut issues they're resolved
Yeah.
now, because boy,
Yeah.
like especially at an early age, that can lead into a very painful existence if your gut's messed up.
All right, listen.
Wow.
We got more questions. We're on with Allison Cullen today on the I Needed That podcast. Just a reminder, we'd love for everybody to leave us reviews. We encourage you to do that because it helps other people find our podcast. So if you're on Apple, please leave us a review. If you're on Spotify, you can actually contribute questions to our podcast now. And then we're set up at chrispowell.com, and you can click on the podcast button, and then you'll see Ask Chris, this cool little design. Boom, hit that, and you can actually record your own voice. We'll get those, and we'll answer your questions on this podcast. So back to you, Allison. And I think now with the remaining 20 or 30 minutes that we have, unless there's something you've left on the table, I would love to understand the 1-4 manifesting generator, the 5-2 generator, and are we, here's a question. Are we a good team?
Yes.
Should we keep working together, or should we blow this thing up like after we're done with recording you today? Be honest.
Let me describe both personality types, both archetypes, and you can make sure that they resonate. And then I can give you some tips on improving. But from what I've read so far, y'all are a perfect fit
Okay, good.
with these types. So yeah.
Okay.
With as she started to describe the situation, I was thinking, oh, she's about to drop a bomb. She's about to say, but. So go ahead and you can describe. Yes, please lay out the 5-2, 1-4, 5-1. What does that mean?
So Chris, so there's 12 of these, and I'm not going to go through all of them. If somebody wants to dive in, I have a whole episode on these. So you can go in there. Chris
If you're
is a
watching
1.
this on YouTube, you just go over to You Do Woo, and then she's got her link tree right there. You can get connected to Allison. Okay, Chris is a 1-4
y'all.
manifesting generator.
Yes, and the 1-4 is called the omniscient teacher. Famous 1-4s were Albert Einstein and Muhammad Ali. So that's cool.
That's a cool combo.
Yeah.
So these are super strong, powerful people who radiate authority. This definitely goes with the manifestor vibes too. You are meant to have a very close-knit platform, a network in which you influence others and really engage with people, which is a big, this podcast, your Instagram, all that kind of stuff. 1-4s are driven to find authorities to teach them so that then they can establish themselves as an authority.
Wow.
This profile needs time alone in order to have time for introspection, investigation. The 1 is a super researcher. You like science, you like research, you like all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But you do enjoy being creative in solitude, not just within community. Like you need that alone time. Okay, this is a
All of
weird
it's
thing.
true.
1-4s can sometimes have control issues. The 4 line
Big time.
fears.
Yeah.
Fears reaction, and the 1 line can sometimes be insecure, which can lead to feeling a need to control to protect yourself. But 1-4s are really amazing entrepreneurs. They're very valuable to have on any team. They're trailblazers. They definitely think ahead of their time, think outside the box, and can make really big things happen. And they have a natural gift for establishing close relationships, naturally super friendly and attractive. That's a 1-4.
Wow.
Dude, it's like, it's you.
Wow. That's okay. That's super cool.
Are you tripping a little right now?
I am just a little bit. Yeah.
Albert Einstein,
That's
Muhammad
really
Ali.
cool. Well, also, what really got me was the fact that you're spot on. I do seek authorities who understand a space really well so that I can turn around and share it with my community. Like that's what I live for is to, I'm a perpetual student. So I'm always trying to learn so I can turn around and share it with people that are trying to improve their lives. So I feel like that's my purpose.
Yep.
And anyway, that's really wild. That's super cool, Allison. Thank you.
Yay. I'm glad it resonates.
Yeah. Okay, but Matthew's turn. I want to hear
Okay.
I'm a
all about the
5-2 generator. Now, my friend
5-2
Lauren told me that I'm super rare. I don't know what that means,
Yep.
but she said it's 5-2 is like super rare.
It's super rare. So the 5-2 is the self-motivated hero. Famous 5-2s are Robert De Niro and Abraham Lincoln. So
Take
that's
both of it.
Yeah.
They are deeply gifted in a very interesting way. It's important for you to figure out how to engage with life so that it feels good to you. That's like the way that you engage and vibe with whatever you're doing it's more important than what you're doing, honestly, like how you do it and the feeling you have. You can get an internal call to lead others to something that lies beyond the normal way of life. 5-2s are very rare, very different. 5-1s, like for example, Taylor Swift is a 5-1. People project all of their stuff onto her. 5-1s thrive on projections of others sometimes, but 5-2s can become wary of how they're perceived. Not that you're like just a total people pleaser, but you're like, okay, I want to make sure that people see me in a good light. And you want to, like, you're concerned about how naturally you come across and you want people to think good of you.
Is that true?
I think it's really true. And I wonder, as like you described that idea of it's important to me to be a little bit of a people pleaser and make sure that people see me in a good light. Is that something like that doesn't feel like a positive to me? That I think that's the way that I want to express that. That doesn't feel positive to me.
I think as long as you're not making decisions based on it and it's just like a vibe of you, then you're okay. If you're making decisions and not putting out content that's important because of people pleasing, then that's a problem. But if it's just like okay, I'm going to DM this person, I hope they take it well, then I think that's great. Now, I know you're not a manifester, but you do have some good throat chakra energy. So I would say, first of all, like people take you well from this podcast. Like your voice is just, it's great. And you're
Silky.
light and easy to listen to and all that kind of stuff. But when you do reach out to people, using your voice is a good way to make sure that they see you in a good light.
Okay.
Right. Huh. For 5-2s, sometimes they remain detached and uninvolved due to the uncertainty of whether they can deliver on what others are projecting onto them. So you won't really say yes to an opportunity unless you know you can deliver what is being asked of you.
Yeah, I'm what I've been told is I'm a hell yes. Like I have to be a hell yes in order to do anything. If there's something that I'm trying to take on where I'm like, I don't know, maybe I could do it. Like I should avoid it like the plague.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Okay.
One interesting thing about this profile is making sure you don't expect the world to come discover you. You have to own your importance and worth and authority first, and then externalize your skills, put yourself out there. The right people will be attracted to you once you start really honoring yourself and believing in yourself.
How am I doing on that? Be honest. I love this conversation because I mean, she's saying things about you. I'm thinking, okay, he does this, he does this, he does this. Like, what are you thinking about?
I think you do that actually pretty well. Here's the thing. I know. I also know that we've been not struggling, but we've been hustling to really start to raise the platform. And I know you have a couple platforms as well, and I know you've been hustling on those as well. But I think you seem to handle it pretty well as far as like with patience, to a certain extent.
Okay, yeah, fine. That's fair about me.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think you seem to be handling it pretty well.
Okay.
But I do agree with her. It's like you are so good at what you do, whether it's your presentations and your seminars, or it's whether you're working a podcast or on radio. And the thing is, everyone who does discover you, they love you. And so, and I can speak to that wholeheartedly. So it's one of those things. So now, Allison, are you saying that he shouldn't put himself out there, or he should, or that it's better if people discover him?
So put yourself out there in your gifts and what you're doing, but make sure that you 100% believe in yourself and believe that you're the best at what you do. And that shift is going to be what attracts people to you.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
It's the shift that you need then.
Well, it's the belief.
And
Yes.
belief.
It's the belief that I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Which gets into like interesting conversations around imposter syndrome and, just some of these things that people deal with on the daily to feel like they're the best at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I
And
love
one of
all
the-
of this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep going.
One of the last things, and this might be something that can help magnetize that a little bit more. 5-2s must embrace self-forgiveness for any shortcomings you believe you currently had or any past mistakes you made. Like sitting down and writing out a list of like all the ways I've screwed up in the past, and then really sitting and forgiving yourself for each of those things and knowing that it either gave you strength in some way or wisdom. If you need to go apologize to somebody, if you need to apologize to yourself. But forgiving yourself and knowing your self-worth is very healing and can sometimes do some of that unblocking of any subconscious things you might have lying around of like not believing in yourself and not believing that you are amazing at what you do.
So a quick question to follow that up. So for other 5-2 generators like me who are dealing with the same kind of situation, would an exercise be for me to literally, as you said, sort of list out some of the transgressions that I'm aware of, and then in conjunction with forgiving myself, going and making amends with those people?
I know that sounds very like 12-step, like AA
That's
stuff.
fine.
Hey,
I mean,
that's-
there's some
that's good
merit to
stuff,
it.
yeah.
There's some merit
Yeah.
to it.
That's part that I think bit of advice is from Kabbalah. Kabbalah teaches you to do this. It's like, okay, if you're not where you want to be in life, whether it's financially or personally, or like you don't live in the house you want, or you don't, you're not, your life somehow doesn't look the way it is, the way you want it to be, or there's some type of chaos in your life. That's one thing Kabbalah teaches, is to go and think about any past transgressions you've made to yourself or to others and feel the pain of it, and then forgive yourself and ask for forgiveness if need be. If the person's not alive anymore, then you can write a letter. If it's like an ex that you don't really want to get in contact with, you could write a letter and burn it, like do a little fire ceremony, do something. And you don't have to get through all of this in a week. Like it might take you a little bit, but when I've done this, and I tend to do this like at the full moon every month, I'll do some sort of like release letter and burn it. Slowly over like a year of doing this, you'll release everything and you'll notice a little up level every time you do. But I think that's it's a great little resource for anybody, but for sure 5-2s.
I got a question for you. Are you haunted by any of your past transgressions? It's a big one. I'm so sorry to put you on the spot right now. And by the way, you don't have to. I'm so sorry.
We don't have to talk about
We
them.
don't have to talk about it. Just say, just here, snap your fingers twice for yes or once for no. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
no, I think I like a lot of people. I look back on my life and I wish there are times where I wish I would have made different choices, right? And
yeah, but does it eat at you, or are you like here now and just thinking, okay, well, what's next then?
there's like 3 or 4 things that show up for me every now and again. And there's silly things too. Well, they're not super silly. Okay, like I'm going to admit something right now on this podcast that I've never really talked about. When I was a teenager, I worked for a company and I stole some of their products.
Oh.
And I've always felt really crappy about that. Like I ended up getting fired for it, and and what I felt bad about was like one of my friends hired me at this position. And listen, they were a mega company back then. And so I found all the ways to validate my stupid behavior. But I was young, I was a teenager. But it's so weird how like a little thing like that shows up for me every now and again. And I often find myself in a space where that inner voice says, you should just write a letter to so-and-so and just say, man, I was a dumb young kid and I did this and I'm so sorry. I don't know.
Dude.
Is it something like that?
I'm with Allison. You should.
Yeah.
You should, like, if that's still there, do you realize that if you did that, if you wrote the letter, it would, I truly believe it would release it. That would never haunt you again.
Yeah, maybe so. I'll literally do it this week. I mean, there's a few things like that I sit on. I mean, aren't you the same way?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Is it important that he makes amends, or can he just say forget about it?
Oh, I think it's a great thing for anyone to do. But for some reason, 5-2s have an issue with self-forgiveness. And so
Yes.
that is like extra potent for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
'Cause
I feel that so heavy right now.
It was almost like a betrayal of your inner character, which you know is aligned. You've got a North Star. Like, you're a good man. So I think that's why it's eating at you, is because it was just a slight betrayal of your character. You know? So you can heal that, though. You can heal it.
Here's a bigger one, right? So similar to you, Allison, I was in the radio and television industry for a long time, and a little bit into COVID, I decided to walk away. And one of the things that I feel bad about is that I put my family in a very precarious situation, right? I walked away from consistent income. I walked away from, well, that's the big one. I walked away from that piece of stability. And, now it's harder, right? Now we scramble a little bit. We don't meet our bills. Credit cards are running up, like whatever. But I'm making a run at a new life, and I certainly recognize that. But I do beat the shiz out of myself for that move sometimes, because I think I even said it yesterday to you or to Lucas. It was like, my family didn't ask for that. They didn't ask for that to be a part of the equation. I put them in that situation. So maybe I just need to talk to my family too and just say, like, hey, I'm really sorry. Like, you guys need to know this eats me up inside, and I'm trying like hell to get it right.
How would that feel if they all looked at
I
you
almost
and-
cried just now, so it would
I-
feel
I-
good.
I can feel it. And how would it feel if they all looked at you and said, "It's okay, Dad, we got you"?
Yeah, they would probably be like, you go back to radio.
No, not knowing them, they wouldn't. But
So that's really interesting, because my husband is doing the same thing. He's walking away from a 20-year career in photography. Now, it's a little bit different because that type of photography is sort of going away anyway with AI, and in like a year, I don't know that he would have a job. So that's happening anyways, but it's the same thing. I'm the breadwinner right now. And it's because it's just this transition we're going through. Here's the deal. Yes, I would talk to your family about it and just say how much guilt you have and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. Also teach them about human design, because you as a generator doing something that lights you up could be giving them so much more energy. Even though a certain amount of money is not there, our energy is way more valuable than $300,000 a year. It's so much more valuable. So teach them about human design and be like, I know we're not there yet, but this is going to pay off. It is going to compound, because my energy is so much higher doing this new career than if I would have stayed in what I was doing. Also, just, I don't know, premonition that I have, so much is going to change in 2024, and you walking through this right now, you're going to be able to lead hundreds and thousands of people through a very similar situation, even though maybe some of them aren't they're not making the decision, they're being fired or let go. It's the same thing. The universe fired you or let you go from that position. You made the choice, but there was something saying hell yes in you, that if you ignored it, it could have made you sick. You could have had a heart attack and died.
I almost did. I had shingles and 3 panic attacks back to back.
Then you would be not on this earth, which would be way worse for your family.
Right.
The same thing for my husband. I was like, you have to stop working. He was working 10 to 12-hour days. He's a projector. He's supposed to work 2 hours a day.
Ouch.
And I was like, I don't care if we're giving up $100,000 a year. You have to stop. We'll budget. I don't care. I'll go live in a trailer.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wife of the year right here.
What do you do if you have an employee who's a projector, who's like, sorry, I can only work 2 hours a day?
So it'll take them a while. It takes a few years before you totally start acting like a projector.
Okay.
If y'all do have an employee, or if you get to that point, come to me and we can sort of chat about it.
All right.
They can get done in 2 hours what a normal person can get done in 10 hours.
Okay. Well, then good.
Okay.
Because they're like, I need a mental health day. I'm a projector. You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
I need a nap.
I've been working for 3.5 hours. I'm
Yeah.
exhausted.
Exactly. I know.
What? Okay. We only have maybe like 10 minutes left with you. What will be important for you to articulate here as we sort of wrap up and have a little bit of fun with you here toward the end of this podcast?
I think that everyone needs to at least just go look into their type and their profile, and that's on the cheat sheet. I'll get y'all that link. People can go grab. It's a totally free cheat sheet. They don't have to book a reading with me or anything. They can like honestly do 3 months of work just with that cheat sheet. Come and tell me if it does not resonate with you. To this day, I've only had one person who this didn't resonate with, and it was like a girl who bought her friend a gift certificate for a human design reading. And while I was doing the reading, the girl had her AirPods in and was like taking care of 3 kids and not listening to me. It's fine. It's fine. Not a big deal. But that's literally the only person I've had in 4 years of doing this that hasn't resonated with this and really let it change their life. It is an experiment. Take what works for you, what feels good, leave what doesn't. It's pretty simple once you dive in, but everybody can DM me, reach out to me if they have any questions.
Cool. Very
Last
cool.
question for
Yeah,
Allison.
absolutely.
How could learning your numbers and whether or not you're a generator or a projector, all that stuff, in what role could that have for people who are trying to lose weight or trying to change their life in some other way?
I think that when you start actually listening to your body, like Chris was saying, you can tap into those cues. There's a whole, okay, Chris, I forgot to tell you this. There's a whole food and digestion part of human design that I didn't go into, like cold foods, warm foods, things that actually satiate you, learning what does satiate you, learning times to eat. Some people fasting works really good. I think for the majority of people, fasting is a positive. For some, it doesn't work for them. And that's part of human design. So like it teaches you what works and what doesn't. It's really interesting.
Very interesting. Is this also stuff that people can just jump onto the website? They can, and in the 3 months of work that they can just get for free, they can actually kind of see what foods would resonate with them or not. Oh, amazing. That's great.
But get a coach. Bring on somebody. Bring in somebody like Allison to help you take this thing to the next level, because we're all very familiar with how to Google, and we can go on and we can learn some information. But when you work with somebody who this is her life.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a huge deal.
Well, everybody needs a coach. Coaches need coaches. Heck, we needed a coach with Lucas yesterday as you guided us through our breathing. So this would be something really cool where you can jump on there. You can get the information, but then it's always nice to have that person that can decipher it and guide you through it.
All right, Allison.
Yeah.
Great job today.
Yay.
We want to play Name That Tune with you. It's something that we put every single one of our guests through, as you know.
I'm nervous.
Yeah, don't be. Everybody says they're nervous. But I generally pick songs that I think most people know. So you get the opening 6 seconds to a song, and then I'm going to ask you for title and artist if you can do it. And Chris is always available to help you.
Yes. You can.
Okay. Do I ask you questions?
You may.
Here we go. Here is Allison's song today on Name That Tune on the I Needed That podcast.
Dude, my husband is going to make so much fun of me. Here's the deal. I know the song. I do not know the title. I do not know the artist. You know why? I used to work in country music, and if you played a 90s country tune, I'd be able to tell you like that. I'm a total Texan, and he's like, Allison, my husband is like, Allison, you literally are stuck in a bubble of 90s country music, and you don't know anything else. So I know that song, but I don't know the title or artist. I lose.
What do you think?
So I don't know the name of the song, but I know it's Bruno Mars.
It is Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars. Okay.
And the song is called Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars.
My kids were just singing that the other day.
Were they?
Yes, they were. I should have known that.
I've danced to it at weddings a ton of times.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yes.
You said something a second ago, and we love talking about music on this podcast, but Saturday night? Do you know Jen Kaplan?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we have a mutual friend.
She had a birthday.
She had a big birthday, and one of her friends is Young MC, the guy who made that song "Bust a Move." Yeah. And so she brought the homeboy in, and he performed at her birthday party, and we were all there on Saturday night. And the discussion at the table was, what is the greatest decade of music?
Oh, I know.
And a lot of people were landing on the 90s because of all of the things that took place in the 90s. For example, You had the grunge scene, which
Yeah.
became huge.
Yeah.
You had this
That's so
country
good.
scene that she's talking about that was unbelievable. The rap scene was out of freaking control
It
with
blew up.
Tupac and Biggie and
Yeah.
all of the
Dre
things
and
that
Snoop and
right?
all of it, yeah.
All
Yeah.
of it. And so we were kind of thinking that the 90s might be one of the most influential. Now, I had a tendency to say the 60s
So I would say the 60s and then the 90s.
and then the 90s. What do you
I'm
think?
80s.
I
I'm all
love it.
80s, yes.
You
With-
would, you
80s
won
is
for
fun, too.
manifesting generator.
Yes. I love me some 80s, but you know what? Now that you mention it, across all the genres, 90s was strong.
Strong.
Man, yeah.
I
it
mean,
was.
what genre had a hard time in the 90s? Like almost nobody.
They all evolved significantly.
Backstreet, NSYNC,
Oh, yeah.
Britney, Christina
Yes.
in the pop world,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yes.
Janet, Madonna, all the big names were still doing things.
Yeah.
Prince, Michael Jackson,
Oh my gosh.
all the Garth Brooks, maybe you heard of
Holy
him.
smokes, yeah.
Travis Tritt.
Oh man.
All these dudes were humongous. Martina McBride were humongous.
Even
Taylor,
heavy,
not Taylor,
heavy
but,
metal. I know.
heavy
I know
metal.
Yeah.
Metallica was 80s, but then their black
they were
album came. Their
90s.
black album came out in the 90s, and that was the one that smashed it. Yeah.
So maybe the
Yeah.
90s are the answer.
I grew up in Houston. And so from 1983 to 2002, I lived in Houston. And it was like, I mean, rap in Houston was a really big deal.
Huge.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
Allison, we can't thank you enough for coming on with us today, and I hope everybody will check her out on her Instagram. You do woo. I love that.
Well, I'm
Such a
honored.
great-
I'm honored to have been on here, and I'm excited that y'all were lit up by hearing about your types.
It's
Yeah,
so cool.
Thank you. I want to learn more.
Well, and I think we're getting ready to produce a series of content for our audience. And one of the things that we want to talk about is something you just mentioned, which is this idea of what foods satiate me, what foods should I eat, what time of the day should I eat. And based on your human design, you're saying you might have some information. And as you know, this guy needs an expert on the phone with us, which
Cool,
is
cool. Yeah.
wonderful. So we have
Yeah.
an opportunity to
Yeah,
bring her
let's have
back.
some fun with that.
Okay.
Awesome.
I love it. Allison, thank you.
Thank y'all so much. I had so much fun with you today.
Us too. Have a great day. We'll reach out to you when this is all done.
Bye.
See
All
ya.
right, we'll see you later. Thank you so much. Golly, man, what did you think of that?
That was fun. That was really cool, actually.
What did you learn about yourself?
Well, she actually just told me things that I already knew, which is a good thing, though. But just especially because the chart is pretty incredibly accurate. I do believe that. And here's the thing: I naturally come into these things a little bit skeptical.
Cool.
Because, and a lot of it stems
Because
from
I'm all in, so
Right.
that's why you and I are a good yin yang.
1,000%. A lot of it stemmed from my childhood. My mom was really into astrology and everything like that. And I was like, oh, Mom, it's not science based. And so, I went so hardcore into the science based side of things. So, like, to bring some, the spiritual side of things up, this conversation was not even, it wouldn't even have been on my radar 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And now I'm like, okay, you've got my attention, and it's really interesting. I really want to understand. For me, I really want to get into understand the whole Kabbalah thing now, because if that's the root of this, I guess it's been around for 40 years or so. The human
design has.
but if it's rooted in Kabbalah, which has been around for thousands of years, really interesting. I'm curious. What were your thoughts?
Let's get a Kabbalah expert. I
That's
mean,
what
I want to know all this
That
stuff.
I really want to. Yeah, I want to really dig into that.
All right.
Okay. What were your thoughts on everything?
I thought it was fantastic. I didn't know what I was going to say if she told us that we shouldn't be working together.
I was I was preparing myself for
Please
that.
don't say that we're
As-
not supposed to be.
As soon as you asked the question, I was like, "Oh man, I hope this pans out well." But that's awesome. Where's your chart accurate?
Oh my God, it's so me to a core. But I'm one of those people that when you read about a Libra or you read about an ox or you read about, any of that stuff, like it's me verbatim.
But do you ever think, it's like, have you ever looked at a horoscope? And I'm Pisces, but I will intentionally read Taurus. And then it tells me all these things. I'm like, oh, yeah. Because it's like they mention things that if it's general enough, it could apply to anybody.
Certainly.
And you always wonder if there's like an art to that. So it's like you get buy-in from everyone. But here's now speaking to the flip side of the coin here, what she actually told me and what she told you, it seemed pretty specific to a personality. Because there's a lot of people, if she read your chart to me, I'd be like, no, that's just not me.
Right.
Or if she read my chart to you, you'd probably say, I'm not feeling that.
I would not feel that.
Right. So it's just,
Which is why I think we're a good duo.
yeah.
Because we complement each other in that
Yes.
way, right?
Yeah. I'm like, but there's a thought here. And my thought is, and this is what I don't understand, but who knows how this is all mapped? How could our location of birth and time and all of that dictate, your chart, my chart, and how well we work together with what appears to be some pretty decent accuracy.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
It's interesting, yeah.
You are literally being the 1-4 manifesting generator right now with that comment.
Right?
Like,
yes.
I need to research this.
Yes.
I need to find the answer. I need to find the expert, and I need to bring them on so that I understand this, so that I can explain it to other people.
That's it.
Because right now, you can't.
I can't explain it.
And that
I don't
drives you
know.
insane.
Just a little bit, yes.
Yeah, which makes you skeptical of it.
Right, for sure.
Isn't that so cool?
Yeah, no, it is. It's
That's
fun.
why I thought this would be such a fun conversation, to learn a little bit more about us and who we are and what makes us tick. I'm really going to do that forgiveness exercise. And what's interesting to me about that is, but I didn't know Allison before we jumped on this interview with her. I would love to know more about that stuff.
I would too.
And I was already kind of thinking about this whole amends thing.
Yes, I think it would be incredible for you.
Right.
I've done a little bit of that in my life, and holy smokes, it's freeing. I know.
All right, listen, thank you so much. We love you guys. We appreciate you being on the podcast. Suzanne said it was really nice to hear from somebody that has a different take on nutrition. She was speaking of one of our latest episodes. Mickey Girl says, I love this podcast. Can't wait for every week in a new episode. As we mention to you all the time, we just love to get your 5 stars and or your reviews.
Yes, they make all the difference in the world to us. Plus, we're humans, and so if you got something nice to say, it makes us feel really good about ourselves and everything that we're doing here for you guys. And so it's always a pleasure serving you. I certainly hope that you guys got something fun, if anything entertaining about today's podcast. And but if you're interested in learning more, we'll go ahead and throw the link in the podcast notes. And so you can just go ahead and click on that and get your own map. And you can learn a little bit about yourself.
All right. So from this 5-2 generator and this 1-4 manifesting generator, we hope you guys have a great week. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Until next time.
See you, pal.